Welcome to the Cork Creative Podcast. With this podcast, we hope to promote local creative businesses and people. I am your host, Geraldine Hennessy from Flux Learning, and today, musician Alan Tobin, aka AGT, joins us for a chat in a bustling O'Donovan's Hotel in Clonakilty. A native of Artfield, Alan has made Carrigaline his home, along with his wife Catherine and 3 daughters. A job in graphic design means a constant stream of creativity flows through him and affords him the opportunity to pursue his passion for electronic folk music. Today we chat about his music, the challenges of the music industry, the differences between being a solo artist and being part of a band, the things and people that inspire him, working with other creative people, his new album, along with his passion for lighthouses. So you're very welcome to Cork Creative, Alan.
Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
How would you describe your music to those not familiar with it?
That's a difficult question, to be honest. The music that I'm creating now is more kind of like, I call it e-folk, electronic folk. I'm not sure if I've come up with the term, probably not. But yeah, so it's a mixture of, kind of singer-songwriter folk music. Mm-hmm. Kind of structures are there. The songwriting is there in terms of verses, choruses. But then I've brought the genius himself, Justin Grounds, on board. And that's where he kind of tears the music apart and puts it back together and uses a lot of electronic stuff, as well as obviously natural instruments like violins and air instruments. I obviously use guitar. So it's kind of soundtracky, atmospheric folk.
And how is the music scene in Cork?
The music scene itself is healthy in terms of the talent, and what's being created is amazing. Mm-hmm. And especially now that, I suppose, through the pandemic, it reinforced the fact that you can record at home and do a lot of home recording. So there's abundance of great talent coming out of Cork. Mm-hmm. The music scene itself, it's slow. Mm-hmm. Any people that have been asking, the crowds haven't really returned yet to the capacity it was pre-pandemic, but it's getting there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So creatively, it's never been better because artists can create anywhere now, anytime, anywhere.
And do you think so that with the pandemic, it helped people, maybe people had more time and they started kind of doing more stuff at home?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. From my point of view, the creative process definitely helped. You could go into your creative space and that was always a safe place, you know? And then, you could communicate with everybody. Then obviously with the video conferencing and the live streaming and all that, you could communicate with so many more people, at any time, pre-recorded or live. So definitely, it definitely helped, I suppose, adapt to the conditions, the environment around the place. But if you ask any musician, it's tough to make a living. I'm lucky that I have a kind of bread and butter job, as you'd say, to be able to pursue my creative side then. But in terms of it being a full-time job, it's really tough.
I would imagine it must be hard for people if they really just want to pursue that. It's different if you want to be an artist or something, there's probably not a lot of money to be made if you're exclusively just a musician.
I suppose in terms of making money from it, if you think of the most successful artists now, they're all from the 70s and 80s, back catalogues, selling them on. You're not going to make any money on Spotify. Bandcamp is great because it does allow you to sell your merchandise, sell your music. I think they have live streaming now as well on that. So from that point of view, it's great. And even touring now, the labels I've latched onto, getting a cut of the merchandise now. A lot of the touring bands would have made their bread and butter really from the merchandise sales. I was in Sigur and at Tree Arena, and it was, I'd say, 3/4 full. Okay. They were playing one night in Dublin.
Gosh, yeah.
It was their kind of world tour of an anniversary from one of their albums. Back in the day, that would have been a hot ticket,
Yeah.
So you can definitely see that there's
a change.
I think they did a gig in the States, so I could have watched the entire gig. I watched most of it anyway, even though I did want to feel the live experience. But the fact that it's there available, you're kind of going, well, if I can sit on my sofa and watch it with headphones on. But I know.
Yeah, I know. The whole experience though, not that I'm one to go to many gigs, but it's just completely different when you're in the venue. It's the whole emotional part of being in a gig that I really, really love, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like music kind of timestamps your life, you know? And it brings you back to that hour, that minute that you heard it first, whether good or bad.
Yeah, that's actually so true. When I think of the things in my life, I think of certain songs, or if I hear a song, it triggers me. And I remember maybe a moment in my life, as you say, good or bad, you know, but it's very true. Yeah, that's what music can do. Yeah. And you're both a member of Low Mountain and a solo artist, ADT. What are the main differences for you between performing as part of a band and going solo?
Well, I suppose the biggest thing is I can decide whatever I want to record. And I don't have to answer to Niall or Deirdre, which is good and bad. Because I suppose with Niall and Deirdre, you have this sounding board and you'd bring a song to the table, let's say, and they'd kind of go, yeah, there's something there, or let's work on it. While being solo, I suppose I have that in a certain way with Justin. I do have it actually with Justin, but the fact that I can explore a little bit more in terms of whatever instruments I want to bring in. And with Low Mountain, we primarily keep it as stripped down as possible. So it'd be just the 2 vocals and 2 guitars. So I'd say that's the biggest difference, that I have more control over it, which, do
you like having the control?
I do and I don't, because I'm kind of very easygoing when it comes to recording. I'm a kind of a 1 or 2 take person. Okay. And I can go, I think that'll do. Yeah. You know, while maybe like Niall might have a day on a guitar piece, and I'd be going, that's fine, you know? And I'm kind of going, just, you kind of have to keep the vibe as well. You don't want to get be too laboured, you know? But that's probably the biggest difference, all right? Just to have that, I suppose, control,
And what or who influences you the most in terms of your music?
Oh, I'd listen to everything and anything, really. Like, I suppose my own songs are kind of, not sad songs, but they're definitely slow burning songs. I'd listen to Logic or Kanye West or any band like that. Or obviously Sigur Rós would be a big influence. A lot of Icelandic music, Oliver Arnalds. He does a lot of kind of soundtracks. So that it's more atmospheric-y, because I'm mad into movies and making short films as well. So I suppose they go hand in hand. So you're not alone making a piece of music, but I'm thinking of it visually as well. Yeah. Like even making, videos for them. And that's what I suppose with ADT, that's another side to the music, is that I try and create as much visual stuff as well for each track. Like the new album will be probably about 8 tracks. Okay. So I'm hoping to at least do maybe 3 short films or short pieces of visual art for it, you know. Myself and Sean O'Connor went to Sigur Rós, and Sean did we did kind of a short film for the consequences of breaking the heart. And that's all we kind of spoke about really, was the next, if we could do something for the next single, you know. And to do it kind of fast and simple. So I have a few ideas I was pitching to him, you know. Yeah. So it's just a matter of, I suppose, reining in your ideas as well, you know, because like it costs a fair bit of money, right, to make videos. We actually came across this, it was Justin showed me actually, that band Low. Okay. They did a 1-shot video in their kitchen of the lead singer stuffing his face with cake. While the other 2 band members stood next to him clapping in beat, in time with the music. And Justin kind of just said, look, take a look at this. This might spark some sort of an idea, you know. And I looked at it first and went, God, this is mad. And he was trying to like drink milk as well at the same time. So, milk and spilling, and you're kind of going, oh my God.
But you wanted to watch the end though, didn't you?
Oh, I did.
Isn't that the whole purpose of the video, you know? Yeah.
So it's kind of sparked an idea now for a video, kind of a nod of the hat to this video. Yeah. And again, it was just one camera, one setup. Yeah, straightforward. But it works. Like
yeah. Sometimes the simplest ideas are the best, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
And you've been working on a second album. How is that progressing? So you just mentioned it there.
I started kind of recording at the start of the year, thinking, you'd get it done in 2 months, but life happens. I'll be working obviously with Justin. But it's just to find the time too to sit down and to track each song and stuff like that. So I've tracked half the album. So I've tracked about 4 songs.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to have a single out. I want New Year's Eve. So I want to release something this year.
Okay.
So it'll be on New Year's Eve. I'm going to release it.
Just in time.
Just in time, exactly.
Yeah.
So at the start of the year, I went up to Galway, up to Ashgraw in Galway.
Okay.
There's a guy called Alton Conlon. He's a songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And he does these songwriting workshops.
Okay.
So his usual, I suppose, way of doing these workshops is he'd invite maybe 2 to 3 songwriters together, and we'd stay in his cabin or stay in his house for the weekend, and just trash out a few songs and stuff like that. But he knew that I was trying to finish kind of writing a few songs.
Yeah.
So he said just to come up myself. So I spent a weekend recording and finished writing some of the songs. So at least I had that done. So the songs were all written by February.
Okay.
So then it was just a matter of tracking them and because I have a little home studio myself. So that's how I work. I do all the vocals and the guitar work and the tracking work and then send it to Justin. And he kind of tears it apart and puts it back together.
Does his magic.
Yeah. So I'd send him some reference points like maybe Beck drums and this, or Beastie Boys sound effects. I suppose with ADT, I work a lot with field recordings.
Yeah.
I got the train down yesterday from Dublin at 7:00 and I did some recordings of the train. So they must have gone, well, who's this guy with his H4 in between the carriages trying to record? I love rhythmic stuff as well, And the train is always good for that. The H4 is with me all the time.
Yeah, that's great, yeah.
Just anything like I recorded eggs boiling the other night because there was a nice little rattle going on.
Yeah.
So just, weird things like that. I think it was a few years ago, Skibbereen Arts Festival, they brought Chris Watson. He does all these field recordings. He goes all over the world, like up mountains, valleys low, recording just the sounds,
Yeah.
And it was in Abbeystory Church. It was a talk, but he played his recordings in the church with a full PA system. And I was going, oh, man, this is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it was the same time that Pat Collins, from Dream League, he finished Silence.
Okay.
Which it kind of follows this character. He goes into the middle of Donegal into a landscape where there's no industrial sounds to record silence. I suppose the juxtaposition is that you'll never record silence. There's always going to be sound. So, that's where my interest in field recordings peaked, or started, I should say. And ever since, the H4 has been my best friend.
So you're obviously a very kind of creative person, what with being a graphic designer as well as being a musician. So you just kind of touched on it there, but can you describe your creative process when you write new music?
I suppose I always have a guitar around the house, so you'd be kind of noodling, like the kids would be telling me to stop, they're trying to do something and the hand would come up to the strings to stop me playing. But so I'm always noodling at something. Yeah. So it starts with maybe a kind of a chord progression. Yeah. And then I'd be humming a melody or something. And then that would shape the kind of, I suppose, the vibe or the theme of the song, whether it being a sad song or a happy song. It would dictate the theme of it then. And then I'd just start maybe mumbling words. So it starts off with that. You might hit one line. And then usually what I'd do is I'd write the second verse first. The first verse I always feel is the best verse, or the most, kind of going, this is great now. So if I start with that, the second verse mightn't be as good. So I make the first verse, the second verse, so that I have to make the first verse now just as good as So it's that kind of process. So I do a little bit of recording, I suppose, like back when I started writing, like I was 14 when I started the guitar, and Nirvana would have been a huge influence, and Kurt's lyrics, they'd be sparse, like my songs wouldn't be, scriptures, they wouldn't be big songs. And I thought that his lyrics were just spot on. When I was like a teenager, he spoke to us, he did. So when I started writing, like we had no phones, no smartphones to record stuff. So I always thought that if the melody was any good, it would stay in my head. And I think Paul McCartney was the same when he was kind of writing. He always thought that if it's any good, it will stick with you, you know, a melody. So that's what I had up until smartphones.
Yeah.
And now you can just record anything.
Yeah.
And so you'd have endless voice recordings that you'll probably never go back to. But in saying that, if I am, I suppose, not in a writer's block or maybe a music block, it's always good to go back and listen to stuff. And that will spark, you know, again, like reading a book, if you're stuck on lyrics, I always have the highlighter out. Yeah. And if there's anything there, then you just highlight a word and you go, God, that's a nice word.
Yeah,
just squeeze that in somewhere, you know?
God, your brain must be so exhausting. I'd say it's just completely immersive. Like you're never switched off, are you? Like you're constantly, like if you're looking at a video or if, you know, on TV or you hear sounds, it must be like it's non-stop. Your brain is just constantly looking for ideas, isn't it? Do you not think?
Great.
Yeah, you love that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a chore. It's not a burden. It's not a heavy weight to carry. Again, with the graphic design, sure, I'm looking at magazines. I'm looking at billboards. You know, you're just constantly in that kind of creative process.
Space. Yeah.
Since having kids, you're opened up to another new world of creativity, especially with. Well, they missed the cartoons and the movies that they're watching. Like one jumps to mind is Bluey. Mm-hmm. It's on Disney. I'd watch that myself without the kids. You know, it's just so good. And I've recently become a big fan of SpongeBob SquarePants. I think it's the most insane, crazy piece. The kids like love watching it. Before I'd only dip in and out, and I'd be walking past the TV and going, "What is this?" Until I actually sat down and watched one of the movies with Antonio Banderas. Is one of the. But it was just so funny and so clever and mad, total madness. So you'd get your inspiration from anywhere.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And as you grow older, then, I'm not alone looking back, but looking towards the next crop of artists and, you know, visual artists is just phenomenal, you know?
Yeah. And as a musician, you work with a lot of different creative people. You've mentioned them, like from musicians like Justin Grounds and Subrelic to filmmakers like Sean O'Connor. Do you find these collaborations essential to help you continuously develop as an artist?
Oh, definitely, yeah. You have to kind of surround yourself with, I suppose, like-minded, but like with the way I work, if let's say if I'm asking the likes of, say, Aidan O'Regan, who did the artwork for my first album, and he's done the artwork now for the second album. I actually have the artwork done. I've no music completed yet, but I'd kind of just leave it up to them. I'd steer them and maybe give them a reference point, because obviously when I'm a graphic designer, the worst thing that a client could say is, "Oh, do whatever you want." Because you're kind of going, well, it's not for me. I'm not designing it for you or for myself, it's for you. So I would give them a reference point, but other than that, I'd let them just whatever inspires them or whatever they take from it. Like with Justin, as I said, he kind of takes my vocals and guitar or whatnot and just tears it apart and puts it back together with his magic. Subrelic, then they get our completed, let's say, songs. We call them stems, so it's like layers of all the music, so they can actually pick and choose what they want. Again, I give them no reference point, whatever they find within the music themselves to take. And with Sean, Sean knows exactly what he wants. If he hears something, like with The Consequence of Breaking the Heart, we had, like, I've known Sean for about 10 or more years, and we've always chatted, like whenever we'd meet up, we chat about music and film and stuff like that. And we always chat about working together someday. So when I released the album, he obviously got a copy of it. He'd been trying to make this short film for about 2 or 3 years. Yeah. And he said, the weirdest thing is there's a song on your album and it just fits with the script. So he sent me the script. Now, it being a music video, it wouldn't have dialogue to a point. So it would be a visual representation of the short film. I read the script and I went, oh my God, this is just total surreal altogether. So yes, we just made the short film then in between a house in Loughain and Inchydoney. And we went all out in it really. Like we got, lighting, 2 really good actors and a great director of photography then, Jas Foley. He does lots of stuff around the place and he works with Sean a lot. So again, I trusted Sean. It was his project, so I just left him do it. And I tagged along the day because like I'm fierce interested in all this kind of stuff, the making of, you know.
Yeah.
So with the new album, I brought in Anthony Noonan, Anto, to play drums, and I'm getting the Cates are going to record some backing vocals, and Eve Clegg is going to do some saxophone. So this album is probably going to be a little bit bigger and sound more fuller. So yeah, I suppose it's working with people that you respect and that you just want to work with them. Any excuse really, do you know?
But they're like-minded, but they add something different, a different element, different layer to the whole production of everything. Yeah, very much. Yeah,
and hopefully that they find something in it as well. You know, not that I'm just forcing them to kind of go, well, here's Alan again. He's some idea, some mad idea that he wants to. Let's entertain him. Poor creator.
I'm sure it's a mutual respect for each other.
Hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And you combined two great passions early in the year when you recorded some sessions in the Galley Lighthouse. Can you describe the experience to our listeners?
Yeah, the Galleyhead Lighthouse means a lot to me, really. Yeah. Like, I'm from Ardfield, so pretty much every morning I'd open my curtains and I'd see the Galleyhead Lighthouse. So it's like lighthouses are, it's kind of a constant element in your life, you know, a guiding light. To a point. But I hadn't actually gone into the lighthouse. It was a few years back, it had an open day.
Yeah, the first one,
probably the first one,
yeah.
And that was the first time I got to get in and have a look around and, you know, up to the lamp and everything and go outside and just see the view. And it was really, really amazing. So yeah, it was earlier this year. I know Ger Butler and I'm pretty friendly with the family. Mm-hmm. So I just popped him an email to see if he was around any weekend or any morning, or that I'd love to record even just the acoustics in there and just to see, because like what I call the belly, I'm not sure if it's the proper term for lighthouse, but the belly of the lighthouse, it's just the natural reverb is just really, really cool. So he replied and he said, yeah, he was free a certain morning and we met up. And he literally just opened the door and he said, there you go. I'll be back in an hour and a half. I had my H4, just went up to the lighthouse, had 2 tripods. And it's weird because obviously when you're there on your own, just as a guest, you know, you just have your coat and stuff. But it was light equipment, but it was still equipment to kind of get up and down the steps. And I was just thinking if anything fell into the lamp or...
Oh gosh, yeah.
Or if anything fell, because you don't even think about these things, that it would smash. But no, I travelled light. It was just an iPhone I used and the H4 to do the audio. And it was just really strange being in the lighthouse on your own because like I'd read Ger's book and, you know, I've heard stories of the sounds of in the lighthouse and just imagining, because it was actually a beautiful day. I was there, so there was no wind or nothing. But just imagine being there, you know, during a storm or just being totally open and exposed to the elements, you know, it would have been exciting but frightening at the same time, you know. So I just recorded a few bits and pieces and released them on YouTube then maybe a month later when I had it all edited down. But I have mad ideas about doing a lighthouse tour around Ireland. Again, who'd go to a lighthouse, you know, to see music, but you never know.
You never know. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are obsessed with lighthouses.
Oh, there are. Yeah. Like the fastest would be on my bucket list. I haven't got out there yet.
Oh, have you not?
Not even on a boat.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I think I'd probably jump off the boat and try swim to the lighthouse, which people have done that just to get on. Like
I've gone around it in a boat, alright, and it looks fairly impressive. Like as a structure, how they built it back in the day, like it's incredible. Like it's in the wilds. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's there's something about them. We went to Sheep's Head on a stag. We went for a walk. There was about 15 or 16 of us. This was before we hit the pub. But we went for a walk around the Sheep's Head, and I can't remember the name of the lighthouse. But while we were at it, they do maintenance on it once a year. Mm-hmm. That time we were at it, the man had come to do maintenance and he left us in.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like going, that is timing.
Yeah, exactly. You know? It was like it was meant to be.
It was meant to be, yeah.
this group of mad people going on this stag.
Yeah.
Let's be very cultured and civilized and
Exactly,
go look at a lighthouse.
Yeah.
So you were able to go mad afterwards.
So we went mad afterwards. We celebrated after. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned it there about you've used YouTube as a medium to get some of your music out into the public domain. Do you think that this is a useful platform for musicians?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like you have YouTube Music now as well. Yeah, it's like any platform like that does help. I know that Facebook, their algorithms don't really lend well to YouTube or embedded videos. So there's always obviously that conflict between...
Trade-off, yeah.
But I look at YouTube all the time. I've recently found the short clips, which is good too. But then sure, you know yourself, you go down a rabbit hole of watching the amount of prank things I've been watching on Facebook is just, and then you're going like, God, that's 20 minutes of my life.
I know.
You know, watching people being pranked and you're going, what am I like?
What do you feel is the best song you've ever released?
Oh.
Is that like asking, what is your favourite child?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose the first song that myself and Niall wrote, I think it was the first song we ever wrote together. Because, so I started work in the Southern Star in 2007 and Niall was working there. And every lunchtime, like he's from Skibbereen, so we go to his house for a cup of tea at lunchtime. And next thing the guitars would come out. So that's where Low Mountain started. Okay. So it was a lunchtime kind of project.
Yeah.
One session he brought letter that his grandfather, when his grandfather was incarcerated in Mountjoy during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And it was written on blue paper. And so he didn't give us the original, but he gave us a photocopy of it. So we wrote a song called Captive Blue. Okay. And that's the first song that we wrote together. And that's the song then that kind of got us on Other Voices. That was the start of definitely my career properly, even though I'd been in bands beforehand. But that was the first song that really kind of went, I actually could do something now with songwriting and so I suppose that would be the first child, the eldest. Yeah. So it wouldn't be the favourite, but it'd be the most important one. Okay.
It kind of started the ball, I suppose, in your music career.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't say the word favourite. We'll just say it's the one that stands out to you. We won't be picking favourites. Okay.
I suppose your favourite is always the one that you're working on now. Or it's the freshest in your head. Because after a while, especially when you're recording and playing it live and over again, not that it loses, like it doesn't lose anything when you're recording it or playing it live, but it's that hearing that song for the first time that, you'd wish, sometimes you'd love to, would you be a fan of your own music, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you heard yourself on the radio, would you kind of go, oh yeah, I must check those guys out? Yeah. Not that I certainly don't write music for people or to be, for anybody to come and listen or whatever. Like I write songs for kind of myself and for the enjoyment of it.
And who would be your dream musician to collaborate with?
Jeepers.
Have I asked another who is your favourite child question?
Yeah, well, I suppose it depends on not your mood, but I suppose the type of music. Like locally, obviously I'm going to collaborate with all my friends and the people. Especially I want to keep it kind of local as well with the Cates, with Paul O'Brien, Ivmeda Houlihan, Eve Clegg, and I'd get Deirdre as well, 2 backing vocals. I've Ellie O'Keefe then, who's a friend of mine. She's based in London. She's doing backing vocals in one of the songs. We get Anto involved. So I am working with what I'd consider, obviously you'll be thinking, I'd love to work with Bruce Springsteen or any of that caliber, but I don't think I would like to. It's like meeting your hero. You just don't want to.
It's always a disappointment as far as I'm aware.
What would I be doing in a studio with Bruce Springsteen? Do you know?
You're happy with the people that you know.
Exactly. And they're the ones that will influence me, and as I want the best for them, they'll want the best for me, that kind of thing. Yeah. Especially I couldn't afford Bruce Springsteen anyway.
You never know. We have some great music venues here in Cork. Debarras, Collins, Coughlin's, whatever you want to say it. Conley's of Lepp. If you could choose any one venue to play in the world, where would it be and why?
I suppose there's 2.
Okay.
Carnegie Hall. And the Royal Albert Hall as well.
Okay.
just because they're just places that I'd just love to be on stage there, you know.
They're beautiful venues too.
Beautiful venues, yeah.
Iconic in their own, in their way, and
like stadium wise, no, I think they'd be just really intimate.
Yeah, the acoustics are beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's a natural kind of acoustics to it. I'd be always thinking, like, if you won the lotto and you just hired a place just for yourself.
Yeah, get a bus loads for Markville there to come and have a bit of an old session. Wouldn't be a bit of crack?
Yeah, that'd be the job.
When you win the lotto, so.
But the thing is, they'd be at the bar. They probably wouldn't be listening at all to the...
Don't open the bar.
Yeah.
That'll be for afterwards. And if you could change anything about the industry, what would it be? Greed?
Could change... Yeah, I think a little bit more fairness, especially in the distribution, the online streaming services. Like, it's pathetic, really. Even if you have millions of listeners a week, you're still not going to earn a crust, really, from it, you know. I think get rid of Spotify altogether. Even though I do, I have a subscription, but definitely I'd big up Bandcamp a lot more, you know. But yeah, get rid of Spotify.
That's fair enough. I think a lot of people would agree. And what's next for you? So what are your plans for the months ahead?
Yeah, the first single on New Year's Eve, and we might have a video ready for that. We'll see. Again, we're in no real rush. But so first single on the New Year's Eve, second one to follow in January, third one probably in March, and in April, May for the album.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I'd love to have it out tomorrow. But I suppose what I've learned is that I suppose to give the music air to breathe, you need a kind of a run up to it. And like, again, there's obviously a formula with albums, but I'm always in a mindset, just get it out there. With the last album, it was during the pandemic, so I couldn't even tour or, have a proper launch or anything like that. So it was just a matter of just getting it, release it. And I think I had a Facebook Live maybe the day of it. But with this, I think a bit of a run up would be the job,
Okay.
Or the plan. Hopefully.
We ask all our guests for a bit of advice for anyone starting out. What piece of advice would you give someone thinking of embarking on a music career?
I had to think about this one. Don't pigeonhole yourself. I suppose you have to have a niche and a genre that you fit into. I suppose in my sense, I'm neither no folk nor electronic. It's just don't pigeonhole yourself. And expose yourself to as much, I suppose, creativity as possible, and not that alone music. Just watch stuff. Even walking out of your front door, you're going to get inspired. I don't read music. I just don't think I ever really had the patience. I tried getting piano lessons and going down the proper academia route, but I just didn't have I think it was just too slow.
Yeah, didn't have the patience.
So what I would really recommend is get them young.
Yeah.
Like with my 3 kids now, that we have an old crap guitar around the place. So they're just learning to hold it and that they know it's there and they can bash it around the place and, they play it to the radio and stuff like that. But I'm not going to, go, you have to do lessons. Like my eldest she'll be 8 next month, and she's asking me when we're going to teach her how to play guitar, and I'm kind of going, no, I think it's just a matter of just learning how to hold it. Because it is a tough
tough instrument.
It's to start off with
when you're small,
And I said your hands wouldn't be big enough. No, music teachers will be giving out to me now if there's anyone listening. But so but in time they'll.
What about the ukulele or something like that? No?
Not a big fan of the ukulele.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, not the biggest fan. I don't know. It's for Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Like, I've been to Hawaii and it's great, but it should stay there really in Hawaii.
Very risque comment.
It is, I know.
Thank you, Alan, for taking the time to chat to us on the Cork Creative Podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Alan and his music, you can find links to his social media on corkcreative.ie.